welcome back from that break. Glad you're still watching Science Breakfast with me, Alan Hubbard, and the sign language interpreter is Gideon Miner. In studio this morning, we are with Mwenda Rama. He is the Chief Investment Officer, ABSA Asset Management Limited, where they help you grow your income. In the first half of this conversation, we spoke about the services that they offer, and in this other half of this conversation, Mr. Mwenda, I want us to talk about then the products and services that you offer. How do they grow? How do they grow the money? How are they able to stretch the shilling, the essence of our conversation of money matters?
Okay. I did speak about the biggest risk the shilling has.
Yeah.
And it's called inflation. So inflation has two things to it. Inflation erodes the value of your money in one side of it. So if you have 1,000 shillings, if you are buying a bread for 100 shillings, the same bread will not be 100 shillings 2-3 years down the line. Why? Because of inflation. But that's the same thing that drives the value of assets. If you went to buy a piece of land today, if you went to buy a share today, if you want to buy something today, and you're told this thing will be the same price 10 years from now, then you'd say there's no need to buy it. In some countries, and in a certain countries actually said, it will be cheaper tomorrow. So why buy it today? Because you also have the opposite of it, which is deflation, where you actually have a drop in prices. And some countries have experienced that, where if you're buying a piece of land today, if you're buying a car, if you're buying any asset, whether financial or otherwise.
A perfect example, the drop of the housing market in the United States.
Exactly. Yeah. So if it's going to be cheaper tomorrow, then you don't have incentive to invest. And that is what deflation does. But inflation ideally is what drives your urge to invest. Your urge to make sure that you push your shilling harder, you push it a bit further. So to keep up with inflation, but you also make something over and above that. Because if you don't do that, then your shilling loses value. And the inflation in a country like ours is at a level of 3 to 5 years, you have almost 100% in some commodities and in some areas.
Yeah.
So if you don't make investments that will be able to keep up with that inflation, you don't be able to foot your expenses. If you don't take investments that will make you extra income, you may not be able to foot your expenses because your expenses are growing significantly over a certain period. So you do need to make sure that that shilling you earn today, that shilling you make in your business, that shilling you make from your salary goes the extra mile, because it must beat inflation. It's competing against an animal that is growing and growing extremely fast. Why? Because you're in a growing country. And with that growth, it means as money grows, as money shifts hands, and people have a bit more. So when prices of items go up, they're able to pay.
Yeah.
They're able to pay. So you also need to be able to pay. There is no point at which you'll actually expect prices to decrease in a growing country. But of course, when you go to a level where growth disappears for different reasons and for various shocks that you have, then the level of inflation that you experience goes to a level where people are not able to buy assets. Why? Because of the challenges they have. There's no money in the economy. But for a growing economy like ours, for a young economy like ours, inflation will be there. But it's supposed to incentivize you to make sure your shilling goes further. So how does your shilling go further? You have two things that you can do with your shilling.
Yeah.
You can either lend it to whoever it is that you're lending to. You can lend it to the individuals, you can lend it to companies, you can lend it to the government, but you can lend it. The lending means you're not taking full risk. It means the only limit you have here is that I may not earn the interest in case you have challenges, but in most cases, depending on who you have lent to, they may probably pay you back your principal. So you're not taking full risk. There's a very likely that your capital is safe.
Yeah.
That you probably get your money back. The only thing that you may not get is, in case of challenges, the interest may vary.
Yeah.
You may not earn as much as you may want, and you may need to adjust that, and you may not be able to keep up with inflation in terms of interest rates when inflation does go up significantly. But then again, that's where we come in, to be able to manage that for you and make sure that at any one time, you're able to keep up with inflation. The other thing that you can do with your shilling is buy into what we call ownership. Buy something fully, which means you're fully exposed. If you buy a piece of land and that title is declared illegal, that means you lose everything. There are no two ways about it.
Yeah.
If you buy an institution and that institution collapses, you lose everything. There are no two ways about it. Unlike lending. Lending limits your exposure, but it also limits your return. But you can also take full ownership. And you must have a balance of all this. You must have things that you have bought in terms of ownership. You must have places or you have lent, so that you are balanced. I remember we said you have a balanced fund.
Yeah.
So that you know there's a place where these 100,000 shillings that I have lent to so and so, and I'm earning 10,000 per annum from it, whether it's 10%, whatever it is you're earning, you know this will come. At any one time, I know this will come. There is no chance that this will disappear.
Yeah.
Unless it's a serious systemic problem, which happens to anybody and everybody, like what you have mentioned in the US. When
Yeah.
certain things happen, no one is isolated from it. It hits everybody in the whole country. So, and it hits those who had not invested harder than those who had invested.
Absolutely.
So you'd rather have invested.
Yeah.
So even as the shock comes that hits all of you, you have shock absorbers that you can survive.
Yeah.
One or the other. But devoid of those, it's very important to make sure that you have a spread of all these items, that you're pushing your shilling as hard as you can, whether it's by lending it, the shilling that you're not using, which is what savings are. So where you have a shilling that you're not using, you have saved it, you have kept it somewhere, make sure it earns something. Push it harder, because if you keep it as is, then inflation, of course, will tear through it. And within a short while, that money that you had saved away is not able to buy anything. So you need to make sure that you have a balance of all these items. You have certain things that you keep at what we call near cash, which will be in a money market fund, very liquid, easy to access. That's where your emergency fund will sit. That is where money will sit as you make decisions about making investments, because you have a certain period that you need to make decisions.
Yeah.
So when the money comes in and you need to make a decision, let it not sit idle. Let it sit in a money market fund. That way you do have, and that's what the money market provides, you have a return that is higher than inflation, that enables you and gives you the time to make the decision. And once you make the decision, the money is easily accessible to you within 72 hours. So you can now invest it. Then you have the other option of having a longer term in terms of lending. So you can lend to the government, you can lend to corporate. For example, right now, EABL is in the market looking for money.
Yeah.
Raising about 11 billion shillings. And you as an individual can lend to EABL. The same institutions are doing it. You can lend to EABL. You probably have a view of what you expect and the kind of growth you expect from EABL. You're not buying into the share, because buying into the share means you're fully committed. But if you lend to them, there are certain things that are attached to that, and you of course have a bit of protection, unlike the people who have taken ownership. When you lend into anything, the first priority is given to the lender. If money is recovered, it goes first to the lender. Then the last bits of pieces that remain is what goes to the shareholders, because the priority is always to make sure that you protect the lenders. So the level of risk the lender is taking vis-a-vis the shareholder is very, very different. But the shareholder is fully committed. But you must have the balance of the same.
Yeah.
Because as well, when we agree on 12%, the only thing I can earn is 12%. Even if the institution makes
Losses.
100 billion, 200 billion,
Yeah.
they'll only give me my 12%. The rest of it goes to the shareholders. So the shareholders as well, as much as they're taking risk, they also are probably going to make the lion's share of the money. I have fixed my return by being a lender.
Yeah.
My return is fixed, and that's why it stays. But when you are taking into ownership, but you must have the balance. You must have what stays in cash or near cash to earn your return that is higher than inflation. You must have what you have lent for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whether to the government or to a corporate, and you must have what you have taken up as ownership in different forms, whether in property, whether in shares, whatever ownership that you've taken.
So
So that your return
Yeah.
is risk adjusted, so that you're not losing out on great opportunities, but you're also not taking too much risk where you get wiped out in the process.
So you really need to think about diversification.
Yes.
When somebody hears you speak, they might think that the way you are sharing the numbers and the projections that you're giving, you might be going a little bit away from the retailer that ABSA initially serves, because retailers vary from vary in sizes. There are retailers who are in businesses that do 110 million, but then there are retailers who do 100,000, 50,000, 10,000. Let us talk about the retailer who makes 150, 10,000, or even 5,000. How do they make, or how do they play in this game? Because you said you could even start with 1,000 Kenyan shillings. But if I have a business that is 5,000 Kenyan shillings, how am I going to rotate that money within my business, but also still have a little bit that I'm going to put aside to look at growth? I might need to fungua another chipo mayai somewhere, but it's only 5,000 that I have circulating in my business. How do I now start thinking about growing it, and how can ABSA help me do that?
Okay. So what we've done is, instead of you going it alone, you've put you in a chama. because that's what the fund is. It's actually a chama, which means at any one time you have people coming in and people leaving the fund.
Yeah.
So your money will always be available to you. Whether you're a lender to go, whether you're in a fixed income fund, whether you're in a money market fund, whether you're in an equity fund, your money is available within 72 hours. And that's the beauty of a group setting. That's the beauty of a fund setting. You're not going into an investment where you must stay for the next 10, 15 years. You're going into, and that's why the amounts are also smaller.
Yeah.
We do $100 for the dollar side of it. We do 1,000 shillings
Yeah.
for all our funds. So either 1,000 shillings or $100. We do not have the 250,000 kind of funds, $100,000 kind of funds. We do not have that. Why? Because we want to give you all exposure. So if you have your $100,000, if you have your 100,000 Kenyan shillings, you can still invest in the same place that the person who has 1,000 shillings is investing in. So we are giving you exposure to the same thing that we would give to a corporate, the same thing that we would give to a pension, the same assets that a pension will buy into, a corporate will buy into. But because you have pulled the money into a chama, it means you still keep the liquidity. So if you have a 5,000 business, a 10,000 business, and you have a 1,000 shillings that needs to be invested at a future date, you have not made the decision, it needs to sit somewhere, by all means, bring it into the fund and know that it's still accessible. Within 72 hours at max, you should be able to get your money. So it can, and it earns on a daily basis. So the return we make every day, we allocate that on a continuous basis. So if you came in today and you stayed for 5 days, what we made in those 5 days, because at every end of the week, this is what we have made, we allocate it accordingly. You'll make your money for the 5 days.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to push your shilling for the period that you want. So it gives you flexibility in terms of period, and it also gives you access to your money. So it doesn't take away the liquidity. Because the problem with most assets that you'll be earning higher returns on is that they are long-term in terms of nature and take away liquidity. If you buy something, if you buy a share, if you buy a property, then you definitely have to do the 10, 15 years to see the growth.
Yeah.
But if you're in a group setting, that means the money is accessible. So what we are doing is to democratize this and take the same things that we have done for corporates and institutions and
make
bring
them
them into
available.
small amounts
Yeah.
and make them available for you and give you liquidity. Because the biggest problem has always been liquidity, that you need to get out,
How
but you
quick
can't
do
get
I-
your money.
yeah.
How quickly can you get your money? How quickly can you sell the piece of land? How quickly can you sell the car? It's not something that you can quickly do. So if you put it in a different kind of setting and in a chama setting, your people coming in and out.
Yeah.
So your 1,000 shillings doesn't mean I have to sell something to pay you back the 1,000. It means someone else has brought 10,000 shillings.
I get
I
that,
invest
that's,
a 9 and it
give you
get
the
the 1,000 and give you your 1,000
Yeah.
plus whatever return you have made, which works very well. Because
So-
that's the beauty of a group.
Yeah, so to get you right, mine as a small business owner is to understand that it's not only my 1,000 that is going to be in the fund, but it's going to be a pool of resources that are going to grow that fund. And at any given time that I need my money, I'll get my money.
Yes.
And-
And for example,
Yeah,
the 5 funds that we run today are 27 billion in size.
27 billion.
Billion in size, with more than 15,000 people in it. So we have grown. And the beauty
I should basically say it. I shouldn't be worried about my 1,000 bob.
Yes. And the beauty of having that, it means that we can actually be able to provide for both individuals and for corporates, because we have the size. And that size is very important. And that's the beauty of group investing. That is why chamas have become and have grown in value over the years. But what we are doing here is to regulate that and manage the risk, so that even as you come in, you have someone who is professionally managing this. Because if you do it with your 2-3 friends, yes, you may make money, but managing is a problem.
Yeah.
Who among you is available to manage that? But in this case, we have an institution that is available to do the management, has employed people to do that work. We have a regulator oversight in this to make sure the risks are well done. And that is the essence of collective investment schemes. They are supposed to provide that service and ensure that the individual who comes with 1,000, the SME who has 10 million shillings, whoever it is, come into this fund, let someone professionally manage it for you, you will still get the same return. If it's 10% that has been made, it's not 10% for the 10 million and 10% and 1% for the 1,000. It's 10% for all
For
of you.
everybody.
And all of you will get your share equally according to how much money you made.
Yeah.
You brought in.
It all sounds not even sounds good. It is good news that in this dispensation people can grow their money that way. But why do you think there is still low uptake? Or is it that I am around people who are not taking up such products or what are you seeing? What are the numbers telling you from an Absa Investment Limited perspective?
We have seen massive growth since for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Massive growth. So, and I did say the biggest task that we have is education. Most of these products, it's an issue of people not knowing they are available. Ours is to get that information out there and tell you that you actually have a good product that can serve you. As I said, the financial industry grows from banking, which starts with safekeeping of money, which is what we call deposits.
Yeah.
So you come to a bank,
Deposit
your money, which is what most people know. So as we grew as well, people realize you can also borrow from a bank. So what do? You come deposit your money and you also borrow. Because the essence of money being taken as deposits is so that it can be lent out to other individuals. So it's the same setting that a bank does. It pulls money from different people in terms of deposits, then lends to those who need it. Those who don't need it don't have to borrow. So you can come they do the safekeeping, but they also lend that money. And that's why they're able to pay you a return on your deposit. But it must make business sense. What we do as asset managers is we're able to serve smaller tickets because we are a lot more efficient and you're a lot more in terms of efficiency and a lot of the things that have been structured into what we do, because we have done this for pensions and we have done this for institutions for a very long time. And they vary in terms of size as well. You have your big pensions and you have your small pensions.
Yeah.
Even for SMEs today, what we have what we call an umbrella fund. So if you're a small SME, you have your 10 employees, you have your 15 employees, you cannot set up a pension fund for them on your own. You have what you're paying already into NSSF. You have tier 1, you have tier 2. There's money that you can actually take to a private fund manager to manage for you. We have put them into what we call an umbrella.
Yeah.
So all of you are SMEs, you come with your 10 employees, you come with your 15 employees, you come with your 5 employees, we put into one fund as SMEs. And therefore you build a big fund that can actually be managed properly, managed professionally, and make money on this pension that you're paying your employees. Instead of all of it going into the government side, some of it can come and get privately managed, which of course we do a lot better. We are better regulated, we have a lot more oversight, and we probably do annual better return because of some of the things that we are doing. So we are trying to make sure that we bring these things to individuals, to SMEs, to a level where you can get proper access. But most of that is education. We need to educate you, we need to inform you, you need to walk the journey with us. So if you walk into any of our Absa branches and ask about these products, you'll be informed about them, you'll have someone who will walk the journey with you, help you make the decision. Talk to your relationship manager, whoever it is that is serving you. Walk into any of our branches, and that's the beauty with Absa. We're all over the country. We have clients in Garissa, we have clients all over. It doesn't matter where you are. You have an Absa branch close to you. Just pay them a visit. Let them tell you about these products. Let them introduce the products to you, because you need to understand the product and know exactly what you're investing in.
Yeah.
But that education is what we are working on. That, of course, will go a long way in helping Kenyans know that these products are not complicated.
Yeah.
They have been simplified by regulation and are very easy to access.
And actually, you sort of touched on our last question for the conversation, and how can people plug into the services? How can they access them? Where can they find them? You spoke about a webinar. When are you planning for the next webinar as we're winding down?
Thank you. So we are accessible through our branches across the network. We have people who can talk about these products and guide you, because you need to know what exactly are you investing in.
Yeah.
We do not want to create a black box kind of scenario where you don't know what someone else is making all the decisions. You're told, you just bring me your money. Don't worry about the other issues. That is not the right way to do it, because we need to educate you so that you become an informed investor, an informed person, because the money that you're giving us may be a small portion of what you have. And some of this education that you're offering will also help you manage your own personal portfolio or assets a lot better. So we don't want to just educate you for the sake of making money. We want to educate you so that you live a more quality life, so that you're able to guide your children, you're able to guide your neighbors, you're able to guide the people around you, and you're able to pass this information. Because as you get to educate as a populace, it becomes a lot easier for us to grow as a country. Because at the end of the day, we need to grow as a country, and that is what we are looking at. And to be able to do that, we need to educate you as much as possible. So visit any of our branches. We also are based at West End, for those who are able to visit us at head office.
Yeah.
Come, let's have a sit down. Let's have a discussion. let's educate you, let's walk this journey with you so that you're able to make these decisions, even as we make the decisions on your behalf. The other thing that you did ask me to speak about is, other than this, what else do we do? We also do webinars. And the beauty of these webinars, and we did have one, and we have them on a quarterly basis, is that you have professionals, you have investment managers, you have business development managers who sit down and just talk about different things that have to do with finances. This video is on our YouTube page, so if you visit the Absa Bank YouTube site, you should be able to get the webinar that we did last week. And that will educate you a lot. And we have a lot more scheduled every quarter starting from next year. And a lot of these are an issue of making sure that you're well educated in terms of financial expertise so that you're able to grow.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for making time, and I hope that our viewers will make the wise financial decision and come be a part of Absa Investment Limited. That has been Mr. Mwenda Rarama he is the Chief Investment Officer at Absa Asset Management Limited. And I've been your host, Alan Hubbard, and sign language interpreter has been Gideon Miner. See you tomorrow as we usher in the weekend. Of course, we are going to heed to what Mr. Mwenda has said. We're not going to spend all the money and only leave once. We're going to save some for investment.